Hello everyone, welcome to Marlin Chess Kids. Today we show the gameplay by Viacheslav and Alan, and this beautiful game complete in only 21 moves. And let's see how the game play. The game start with the pawn to e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, and here the white play a pawn move trying to gain control on the center, and this forced the black to capture the pawn. Then after this move, we have a very strong knight on the board. So after this move, the knight capture, and the black continue to develop the knight to f6, then the knight to c3, then the black play d6. So here this is the first 5 move, and you can see at this position the white is slightly better. Then the game continue with bishop to c4, trying to play a king short castling, and after this d6 was, and after this move the bishop continue to develop to e3, then the black play bishop to e7. After this, queen to e2, and here you have the option for the white to castling king side or castling the queen side, and here the black play a6. After this, the white go for a long castling, and now the queen to c7, then the pawn to f3, and the black go for a short castling. So this is the first 10 move, and the white is still slightly better in this position. And now the black idea is trying to attack with the queen side, while the white is trying to attack with the king side. White play g4 with the king side, and after this the knight to e5 was played, trying to attack the bishop with the knight and the queen. So another suggestion that the black can play will be capture the knight, and after capture the knight, the bishop capture. Then here you can play a b5, and this will maintain the equal position, and you have a very strong attack from the black. So in the actual game, after knight to e5, the bishop back to b3, and the white is still better in this position. Then the black continued to play b5, trying to attack and from the queen side. Then h4 was played. Another suggestion that the black can play will be g5, and this will give white a better chances, as here the knight need to move away, such as knight f to d7. Then here you can just continue to attack with f4, and this push most of the pieces off to guarding the king side. And if the knight move to c4, the pawn will just capture, or if you b4, attacking the white knight. So here after this move, the knight can just move away first, knight to a4, and then this knight can move to knight to c6, and at this position of this structure, the white is still better in this position, and the white can keep on attack with the pawn, such as f5, keep on the attack. And here after this you can just bring your rook and your queen, and this you can continue to attack and storm and attack the pawn. And here at this position, you give a white a very strong attack, while the king is still safe at the queen area, queen side. So in the actual game, after b5 was played, the white go for h4, moving the pawn first. After this, the knight at this c4 was captured with the bishop, then the pawn captured, and now h5 was played, trying to push forward and attack the pawn, and this allowed the rook to be active and can attack the h7 pawn. So after this move, rook b8 was played, and now the white continue to play g5, pushing the pawn forwards. Then the knight continued to play to d7, and now g6, and this pawn will be quite strong. You can attack this pawn and attack this pawn. Also, you can put h6 and attack the pawn, and here the white would win in this position. So if the black captures, then the pawn will just capture. Knight trying to play knight to f6 to protect the h7, and here the rook d to g1. So you have a very strong attack at this position. So after this move, let's say if you play anything such as a queen to b7, then the pawn will just capture and check, and if your rook capture, then you can just put a b3, and this still safe from any attack, and the white can just continue to play the attack. So after this move, if you capture with the pawn, then the a pawn can capture, and if you try to push the pawn forwards, then the queen can go to h2 and try to mate at h8 at a move 23. So after this, if you play something like a dummy move like a5, then the idea would be play h6, and this pawn is trying to attack the pawn and allow the check with the rook. So if you play a dummy move such as a4 again, then you're able to mate in 6 from the white. So the idea would be the g takes the pawn, which has g, the pawn at h7 will have a check, and if the king do not accept the pawn, so if the king move to h8, then the pawn h will just capture, and you're going to win the rook. So this forces the king to capture it back, and after capturing it back, now you have a pawn promote to a queen, and this will be a check. So this allows only the king to move to g6, and after the king move to g6, then you have a simple queen to h6, and it will be a checkmate. Back to this position, and if you use the rook to capture, then the queen now will come to g2 and check the king, and if the king comes to f6, then you have a queen to g5 checkmate, and this is a diagonal attack which is called a dovetail mate. And if you move the king to f8, then you just have a back rank checkmate with the rook. Rook takes h8, and you'll be a checkmate. So if you see that once the two pawn attack to the rank 6, such as this position, the white will be winning in the game. Therefore, the black need to prevent these two strong pawns to attack until the rank 6. And in the actual game, after a g6, the black play bishop to f6, and this at the same time also attack the knight and also attack the pawn at b2 with the rook. So you have a very sharp bishop attack at this position. Then in the actual game, the pawn just capture the pawn at f7, and here the rook just capture it back. In the actual game, the rook can capture it back, or the king can just move away. If the king move into king side, then the white will add e6, and you have the fork at this position. So in the actual game, after the pawn attack, the rook just can capture it back, or the queen. But in the actual game, the king just capture the pawn, and after this, the king move to b1. And here you see the position is still equal for both sides. And after this move, the queen goes to c5, and this still remain equal for both sides. The queen can attack the knight and attack the pawn, and the queen can attack the knight because the pawn cannot capture because it's being pinned by the rook. So in the actual game, after this move, the knight to c6 and attack the rook, and this move is a tactical blunder, and with this move the black win the game and mate in 6. I'll give a couple of seconds to figure out how the black continue to play and win the game. Well, congratulations for those who found the answer, and for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the moves. And in the actual game, after the knight capture, the black used the rook to take the b2 pawn, and this is one of a nice and strong move, a brilliant sacrifice. And after this sacrifice, the white capture the rook, and after capture the rook, the queen takes the knight, and after this move, the white resign the game. And if you want to continue the game, such as the king to b1, then you have a queen to a1 checkmate. And if you move the kings to c1, then you have a queen to a1 check, and now the kings to d2, then bishop to c3, and this will be a nice checkmate from the bishop. So back to this position, if there's another simple way which you can mate is using the queen takes the knight, and with this move, after capture the pawn, it will be a checkmate because it will be protected by the bishop or protected by the rook, and this position definitely the white can't do much to protect this position. So if you capture the rook, then the queen will just capture and it will be a checkmate. So if you block with the bishop, such as bishop to d4, then here you have a rook takes the b2 pawn and check the king. And if your king move to a1, then this rook can goes to b5 or anywhere you can move b5. Then after the bishop capture, then you so if your king move to c1, And after this move, the bishop, you just move to g5 and continue the check. And here, nothing, the king can move to anywhere, and you need to block the check such as f4. Then the bishop will just capture again and continue to check. And now if you use the bishop to defend the check, then the bishop will continue to attack again. And after the bishop capture and check, again the king cannot move. And if you block with the queen, and now you have a very nice checkmate with the queen takes c2, and this will be a nice checkmate. And the king cannot be moved. So after queen capture, if you block with the, if you move the knight to d8 check, then the rook can just capture it. And now if you block with the d4, the bishop d4, the rook will just capture again, and the king to c1. Then here you can use the rook to capture, and here you can go to a1 and checkmate the king. So if you use the bishop to capture the queen, and now the bishop can just capture, and again it will be a pair rank checkmate with the rook, and nothing the white can defend the position. So if you move the king to b1, then you have a rook to a1, and this will be a back rank checkmate. So you can see that this nice position of checkmate is using the queen to capture the knight, and it's being controlled by the rook. And with this queen capture, and the white is winning the game, the black is winning the game with this capture. And with this, thank you.